Korea, and the prime ministers of such countries as Australia, India, Japan, and Russia.
Right, so are there any concrete accomplishments emerging out of the meetings in Myanmar?
That is a very challenging aspect of these summits, just to get everybody here, get them in the same room. And as we saw at the APEC meeting in Beijing, just to pull off a handshake, of course a very icy handshake between the leaders of Japan and China, the photo that went around the world, really summing up in one snap the state of relations between those two Asian neighbors. Well, the real value of what comes out of these meetings isn't necessarily in the communiques, although we are looking for some language on the code of conduct about the South China Sea to come out of the meetings here in Naypyidaw. But what is really of value to the leaders are the one-on-one meetings and some of the sidebars where, for example, you'll get three countries together with ASEAN, or just a few leaders talking about a particular topic. And what comes out of those meetings gets massaged in press releases and at news conferences, and we don't always know right away what really of significance has come out of those meetings, and sometimes it's not until one of the participants writes their autobiography many years later that we find out just how significant something was that is going on at these summits.
Thanks a lot, Steve. We'll be reaching out to you much later for more on the meetings, the ASEAN Summit and the EAS Summit, which are holding this week. Quite a lot going on in Asia. Steve Herman is with the VOA. He spoke to us from the venue of the ASEAN Summit in Myanmar. Now, despite attempts by world powers to curb Iran's controversial nuclear program, Russia has surprisingly agreed to build up to 8 nuclear reactors in Iran. This comes 12 days before a deadline for a deal to curb Iran's nuclear activity elapses. The deal agreed by Russia and Iran envisages the construction of 2 reactors with scope for a further 6. World powers, including Russia, have been pressurizing Iran to curb its activity amid fears that it wants to build a bomb. Iran, of course, says that its nuclear program is only for for humanitarian purposes, beg your pardon. World powers, including Russia, have been pressurizing Iran, but diplomats are due to meet for a final round of talks next week. It's unclear, though, what effect these talks will have on the Russian deal. In the meantime, U.S. State Department officials say talks with Iran over its controversial nuclear program have been tough, direct, and serious. They declined to say, though, if progress was made during trilateral negotiations that also included the European Union. The officials commented to reporters after Secretary of State John Kerry, Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif, and EU negotiator Catherine Ashton wrapped up 2 days of negotiations in Oman. The VOA State Department correspondent Pam Dawkins reports.
With a November 24th agreement deadline on the horizon, negotiators in Oman have made a last-minute push to resolve differences. Ahead of the talks, Secretary of State John Kerry ruled out linking negotiations on Iran's nuclear status to other issues affecting the region.
The nuclear negotiations are on their own. They are standing separate from anything else, and no discussion has ever taken place about linking one thing to another.
A major sticking point in the talks has been balancing Iran's insistence that it has a right to enrich uranium with Western concerns that Iran wants to make nuclear weapons. 2 senior State Department officials said they were not going to characterize the state of the talks. One added, there is time between now and the November 24th deadline to resolve issues regarding technical work and political decisions and reach an agreement. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani is facing internal pressure to reach a nuclear deal, says non-proliferation expert Robert Einhorn.
He was elected on a platform of strengthening the economy, and I think he understands that to strengthen the Iranian economy, he needs to get the sanctions lifted. And to get those sanctions lifted, he needs a nuclear deal.
But the Iranian president is also facing pressure from the other side, says Middle East analyst Melissa Dalton.
I think, though, that it's quite certain that the Supreme Leader has the ultimate say, and he publicly has been very strong on Iran having the right for civilian nuclear use.
After Presidents Zarif, Kerry, and Ashton wrapped up their negotiations, the talks continued at the political directors level in Oman.
Space innovations next, as scientists are able to land a spacecraft on a comet. At South of Space News, please join us again. We're looking at pictures from out of space. The scientists say that they've made a key milestone, which is to land a spacecraft on a comet. It's really, really small to see, though, but it is actually happening, or it did actually happen. Controllers say that they've now made radio contact with the descending Philae robot, meaning that they should be able to receive pictures from it as soon as possible. Now, if successful, this will be a first for space exploration. No mission has previously made a soft landing on a comet. Now, a Paris church, which holds a Sunday Mass for animals once a year, has held its last service for its Fury parishioners as the building faces imminent demolition. Archbishop Dominique Philippe of the Gallican St. Rita Church blessed dogs, birds, ferrets, goats, and even a camel for what could be the last time after the establishment was sold by its owners and is set to be turned into social housing.
On Sunday, Archbishop Philippe led a camel that had come from its farm in northern France to the head of the congregation, which had attended in numbers with their pets to call for donations to save the church. The parishioners are trying to collect enough funds to try and buy back their church and will have to come up with a whopping 3 million euros to save the establishment. But some worshippers are still hopeful and want the church's annual mass for animals to continue for the sake of their pets.
They're like us. They're like our children. Yes, we'll say they're like our children, but not exactly. We consider them to be like our children, and we are here also to help the church.
The church has set a blog calling for contributions to its cause. The French Parliament voted last month to make a modification to the country's age-old civil code and upgrade the status of animals to living beings capable of sensitivity from furniture.
Animal lovers will go any length for their pets. But that's the world today. Thanks for watching. I am Amarachi Ubani, top of the hour, the Sports News.